billions of conscious minds, each requiring quantum-level precision. No computer system, regardless of its sophistication, could handle this complexity. French physicist Bernard Espagnat captured this beautifully. The implications of quantum mechanics force us to consider that reality is not algorithmic. It cannot be reduced to computation. This quantum perspective offers something profound. Our consciousness and reality appear to be fundamental features of the universe, not artificial constructs. The evidence suggests we're not characters in someone else's game. We're integral parts of a quantum reality far more fascinating than any simulation could be. Why this matters. Beyond the fascinating science, there's a profound reason why debunking the simulation hypothesis matters. It completely transforms how we view our existence and responsibilities. Simulation theory can lead to a nihilistic worldview. If nothing is real, why should anything matter? As research published in the Journal of Behavioral Psychology demonstrates, individuals who believe they live in a simulation report higher levels of detachment from reality and lower levels of empathy toward others. Believing our world isn't real can become a convenient escape from addressing urgent challenges. Climate change, income inequality, global conflicts. If none of it is real, why bother solving these problems? The quantum evidence revealing our fundamental reality offers something far more empowering. Our actions, choices, and relationships aren't just artificial constructs. They're genuine aspects of our quantum reality with real consequences. How would your approach to life's challenges change if you knew with certainty this reality is fundamental? Would you engage more deeply? Take more responsibility? Think about it. This isn't just philosophical musing. Quantum physics gives us a framework for understanding existence that embraces complexity and interconnection rather than artificial simulation. The quantum entanglement that makes simulation impossible also suggests we're fundamentally connected in ways we're only beginning to understand. Recent experiments at quantum research facilities around the world continue to confirm what the mathematics already tells us. Our reality exhibits properties that cannot be artificially produced. From quantum random number generators to tests of Bell's inequality, every experiment points to the same conclusion. The simulation hypothesis represents a modern version of Descartes' evil demon, a thought experiment about whether we can trust our perceptions. But unlike Descartes, we now have the scientific tools to address this question empirically. The quantum evidence is clear. Our universe cannot be simulated. The mathematical and experimental proof shows we exist in base reality, with all its wonder and complexity. This doesn't mean our universe isn't mysterious or that consciousness is fully understood. Quite the opposite. It means we're part of something genuinely profound, not just lines of code in some cosmic computer. Instead of retreating into simulation fantasies, we can embrace the extraordinary quantum reality we actually inhabit. And that makes everything, our challenges, our triumphs, our connections, infinitely more meaningful. If this quantum...
That doesn't mean that matrix vermin wish to make themselves real by trying to infest the base reality. But we're in the base reality. I think that's definitive proof that we are. And therefore one can see why you'd want to turn at least 6 billion of the humans into Borg, because the Borg are the mechanism not only to make sure that a saint like Bill Gates can live forever, because he needs to live forever because he's killed, with his kill shots, at least 6 billion people, but it also enables matrix vermin in the matrix to become real using the Borg, so you can download matrix filth, not only demonic filth from interdimensional realms, but matrix filth into the Borg and use their conscious field to interact with the information field underlying the quantum field and make themselves real by parasitizing the Borg. So you see why the Borg are so important to this entire strategy, and if you're head of MI6 or Mossad or the CIA, you thought it was a depopulation program because you're imbeciles, you're cretins, you're morons. No, no, no. This was an alien, Rothschild, royal family, Rockefeller, very tight-knit, small number of vermin who knew about it with the aliens, all going back to the late 50s when they made a deal with the aliens. And of course you can see why we've had this massive Borgization of the population, and you can see why yours truly is so loved by the Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family and the aliens for explaining to the human population what's been done to them.
Assemblage point fluid, so we can see different viewpoints. Normally we're stuck on one viewpoint. For most people it's the rational, logical way of looking at things. And that's so limited. So if you want to have really wonderful experiences shamanically and superordinary powers and all that, you must shift your assemblage point.
For the Toltec seers, the assemblage point was the cornerstone of true power. According to Don Juan, to access the assemblage point, one had to first quiet the internal dialogue. The constant narrative of the mind, he said, acts like an anchor, fixing the assemblage point in its ordinary location. Only when thought is silenced, through discipline, intent, or shock, can the point begin to loosen, to drift, and eventually to move. Dreaming was one such practice. In heightened states of lucid dreaming, warriors could observe the position of their assemblage point and deliberately shift it, exploring new worlds as real and complex as waking life. Recapitulation, the act of energetically reclaiming one's life force from past events, was another method, freeing trapped energy and increasing mobility.
The assemblage point is a beautiful construct where there's a point, they have this point where everything assembles. You could almost call it the identity. You know, it's how you see the world. You know, I'm a logical man, I'm a rational man. You know, if I got to see the numbers, I got to see the proof. But if you bump that assemblage point, then there's a whole new segment of the frequencies is available to you. And so now you can see things like empathy, and see things like love, and see things like beauty or poetry. And if you bump it again, you have the assemblage point, then you're open to, say, even spirituality, you know, or philosophical questions. Who knows, you know? And so the notion that you can move that assemblage point around is like a really nice way of visualizing it.
Don Juan described the assemblage point as a fluid intelligence, sensitive to discipline, heightened awareness, and impeccable intent. Strengthening it required a fierce clarity of purpose, a life lived not for comfort, but for alignment. To keep it steady in a new position meant anchoring perception not in habit or identity, but in direct knowledge. When stabilized in expanded positions, the assemblage point opens the gateway to nonlinear time, telepathy, heightened perception, and deep silence. The warrior who masters this becomes a true navigator of reality and a participant in the shaping of it. Evidence suggests that awareness is not confined to the brain, but rather distributed across a complex electromagnetic ecosystem centered in the thoracic region, particularly around the chest and spine. This is where electric, magnetic, and scalar forces converge with the highest intensity. Clyde Baxter's experiments in primary perception, HeartMath Institute's findings on heart-brain entrainment, and the emerging field of biophotonics all reveal a distributed architecture of consciousness, capable of coherence, adaptation, and non-local resonance. At the center of this architecture lies a high torsion nexus, located just above the physical heart. It is here many believe that the assemblage point resides, a dynamic interference node where field information is translated into perceptual stability, a sort of energetic aperture through which the self constructs the real. Physiological and energetic disturbances, whether caused by trauma, intense stress, or emotional rupture, can dislodge this focal point. When that happens, the perceptual framework begins to fragment. The world loses vibrancy. Emotional depth recedes. The familiar becomes alien due to an altered electromagnetic assembly, as if the lens through which life is rendered has been knocked off axis. Just as a telescope slightly misaligned produces a skewed image, the displaced assemblage point distorts the narrative of self and the field it inhabits. To understand this more clearly, imagine the assemblage point as the focal setting of a camera. When correctly aligned, light enters and a coherent image is formed. But if that lens is nudged by shock, grief, or trauma, the image becomes distorted. The content of the world doesn't change, but its clarity, contrast, and framing do. The reality you inhabit appears altered because the perceptual lens through which you engage it has shifted. To return to clarity is to realign this point through coherence. Many ancient lineages encoded the existence of this axis into their spiritual and anatomical systems. The Tibetan Bindu, the Kabbalistic dot, the Vedic Hridaya, and the Egyptian loop of the Ankh all reference a central convergence point where form meets formlessness, breath meets light. When we speak of shifting the assemblage point, we're describing a shift in the interference pattern of the human field, the harmonics by which light, sound, and electrical signals converge into meaning. To change the position of this point is to alter the very syntax of reality. Perception widens, synchronicities increase. The sense of self becomes permeable to something larger, more intelligent, more whole. What was previously dismissed as invisible now comes into focus because the lens has been tuned to receive it. Research into biofield coherence continues to confirm what mystics have intuited for centuries, that coherence precedes clarity. Breath, intention, and awareness have measurable effects on the electromagnetic ordering of the body. When heart rhythms enter into coherent resonance with brainwaves, and when scalar potentials across the chest stabilize, the body's field reorganizes into a toroidal structure. It is in this structure that the assemblage point finds its natural seat, a center not fixed, but harmonized by order, rhythm, and meaning. Displacement, then, is not pathology, it is a loss of resonance. And healing is not the imposition of will, but the invitation of harmonic remembrance. There are practices that return the access to stillness. Breath, when slowed and deepened, entrains the nervous system to a more ordered state. Toning and sonic resonance stimulate the chest cavity, activating the electromagnetic field around the heart. Stillness, silence, and conscious gaze stabilize the reflective interface between the inner and outer worlds. These are the technologies of perception, methods by which the assemblage point, like a compass needle, realigns to magnetic north. All in all, the assemblage point is the sacred axis by which perception becomes reality. It is where your attention becomes matter, where your breath meets the field. To work with it is to become an architect of perception, a steward of coherence, and a traveler of inner terrains once obscured by noise, as you come to realize that you are the fulcrum around which your experience is assembled.
About the assemblage point, so we'll see where Vinny's assemblage point is. But down here. But should be there, no, it's down here. So this is the nasal swabs with a nanotech that have moved his assemblage point down into the realm of the beast. So that's the good thing about dowsing, which Colin Bloy was brilliant at, and I'm brilliant at. You can simply feel, so it's here, it should be there, no? So you can see all the Borg have had their assemblage points lowered into the realm of the beast. Their conscious field has been devolved, and if they lose conscious field, then of course someone's got to be gaining the conscious field. The aliens, Rothschilds, Rockefeller royal family, quantum computers, CERN, White Rabbit have all been vampirizing the conscious field to interact with the information of the quantum field in order to do all the stuff that we need to bring Saint Bill Gates back to life in his clone in the future. So you can see there's a grand plan here. So this is someone who's had all the nasal swabs. That's just the nasal swabs, not the kill shots. The nasal swabs, and this is the effect.
Here we go.
So here's Mike, and his assemblage point isn't down there. Have you had any kill shots?
No.
Have you had any nasal swabs with nanotech?
No, thank
You
you.
do need them for Bill Gates.
No,
Saint
thank you.
Bill Gates needs you.
Thank you for the opportunity, but no thanks.
He needs your evolution to enhance Saint Bill Gates. So you can see now, no, it's not around here. Yeah, he's actually got his assemblage point up here, which is dramatic because it should be here, but it's actually been raised to here. And the higher you go up, the higher your conscious state. So it isn't in his brain, but it's actually in what you would call the 8th chakra, if you looked at my magic videos. So this is Mikey Boy, and this shows he's been with me since the beginning, the longest of my acolytes, and it's starting to drop. Are you paying for me for this? It's starting to drop. It was up here, it's going down.
Yeah, keep it up there. It's
No, this costs you more if it goes down. So let's move him out before it goes down too far. What we can do here is apply all the services to Jessica all at once to move her assemblage point and see what happens. So at the moment, her assemblage point's about there, which is slightly over. It should be around up there, but it's about there. So we're going to do first the Soul Rescue. Apply the Soul Rescue service where we're pulling back her soul that's been ripped out by all of the prior satanic rituals of the Rothschild Rockefeller royal family. So we put the Soul Rescue back, pop, and Spirit Rescue, pop. So you can see it moving up the more services. So let's start applying, because this young lady's gone for all of the services. So we'll start to apply all of the services all at once. Oh. Still not as good as Mike, who's got all the services too, haven't you, Mike? So it's here. So what we want to do is move our assemblage point into that penultimate grail state. So the next thing is, let's excise her death spot. Get rid of a death spot. And what are we going to need for that? Yes. Dark crystals. These are wrong charges, these are. So, get rid of a despot. I don't want to go. She wants to die. There we go. Got rid of that. So, get rid of despot. Yeah, no longer there. And oh, it's moved into her head. We got the Metatron state simply by getting rid of the despot. Isn't that interesting? Now, of course, we want to close a gap because she can't be in that penultimate grail state without closing the gap. Let's go. So for the next, we're going to close her gap, and the gaps through which you die. So in fact, if you're going to close the gap, you need someone to die for you and close the gap for you. And of course, this is the gateway because this was brushed like a flea, and its ramblings had no effect on reality, which links up to Jacob Rothschild, Serena Rothschild, and the entire West, which is going to die with the forthcoming war with Iran, which is not going to be very good for the Western population. So we're going to upload. There we go. And of course, close the gap. That wasn't enough. So, now of course, this piece of filth, Jeremiah Schwartz, and the CIA and the rest of the Jews and their ilk have tried to steal me, and of course, by stealing me, they've stolen, being crushed like a flea in the ramblings have no effect on reality. So we can see the forthcoming war with Iran will wipe out the West, so we simply upload this piece of garbage. And as you can see, the CIA have been going hell for leather to produce more videos. If at first it doesn't succeed, double down on stupid, which is the definition of insanity. Yeah, that's still the gap, and that got into the penultimate grail state because, of course, now we know that Israel and the West will be wiped out with the forthcoming war with Iran. Iran, of course, will be wiped out, but they're Shias, so never mind. So we simply got Jeremiah Schwartz and his ilk to steal my death, and since, if you're a vampire, you've stolen my death. Every death, every timeline where this young lady dies has been stolen by Jeremiah Schwartz and his ilk. And as you can see, with the massive production values, the CIA have been hard at work. We don't like what he's saying about our boy Jeremiah Schwartz, so let's produce more videos. We've got it into the penultimate grail state, so we now want it into the throat position. So now we input all the services into this young lady, and we simply drop them down there, where we've interacted with the scalar field, and of course we need to power it to go further and further. So she simply needs to stand over our bit of grail stone, where we put all of Jeremiah Schwartz and the ilk and the Elohim into Omega Hell and feed her via her bottom orifice to supply her with more energy. And of course we need to take out any parasites that might be there. And of course if you're deparasitizing, got your
negative crystals. It's hiding. It's hiding. There. No, gone already. So you can see when you get into the metatonic state, the parasites vaporize. So nothing to pull out because it's gone already. And we can see now that our assemblage point is dropping down into this region, which is the Grail state, where you've got the double ram's horn. If you look on the Grail patterns available from Mikey Boy, so you can either buy the Grail patterns now or the whole package, same price, $400 for the Grail patterns, or the whole package for $400. The price has gone up. If you want a remote viewing course, $400. Remote sensing course, $400. MP3s, $400, or the whole package, $400. Up to you. So we've got her into the Grail state. Why would we want to get the Grail state? Because the ram's horn, one where you're destroying, the other one where you're taking all the goodness out. And with time density, you're getting the anti-clockwise cause of, inward spiral clockwise, time density effect of. So the ram's horn is the most important point of the Grail state, and of course we've now got a gap opened up again, and she's now in the Elohimic avatar state, where the Elohim came into their avatars, the Rothschild Rockefeller royal family, using the Neo energy, which of course now has been abrogated, and we now want to finalise this.
Yep.
Here we've got Lilith, who was Baal-fired, and the light which went into the shamans so they could burn with the fire from within, and into Lucifer, is all gone. So we're simply extracting the light, and we're making new light from the eternal torture of Jeremiah Schwartz and his ilk, and all the rest of them. And of course we had the final death of Lilith in Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl. So we keep the upload. There we go. Download it in there. All done. And of course not possible, but she has rented all the services and is going to pay for them. So that has simply completed all the services for this young lady.